Some stories die when the lights go out, but down here in the dark, they keep playing. Welcome to Graveyard Mile, where every tale has a heartbeat that won't stay buried. The hallway outside the music wing was empty, washed in the amber glow of security lights. It was nearly 6 o'clock, and the rest of Westbrook High had emptied long ago. The muffled hum of the HVAC system was the only thing keeping Alex company as he slung his trombone case over one shoulder and looked toward the basement stairwell. He didn't want to go down there, but he needed the credit. 2 more makeup practices and you're cleared, Mr. Palmer, the band director, had said earlier that day, scribbling his signature across a slip of paper. Just don't leave the door propped open again. The janitors have been complaining. Now, as Alex stood at the top of the basement steps, the door creaking open with a reluctant groan, he wondered if maybe the janitors had a point. The air was damp and stale, and the faint scent of metal and dust rose up from the dark below. He flicked on the light switch. Nothing. He sighed. Seriously? Pulling out his phone, he turned on the flashlight. The narrow beam cut through the dark, catching glimpses of pipes, peeling paint, and old cardboard boxes stacked along the walls. His sneakers scuffed softly on the concrete floor as he descended. The practice room wasn't much of a room, more like a large storage closet tucked at the far end of the basement, the kind that had seen decades of forgotten band trophies, broken stands, and sheet music yellowed with age. The door bore a faded label, Storage B-12. He pushed it open. The hinges screamed. Inside, a single folding chair sat under a hanging bulb. The light flickered weakly, threatening to die at any moment. Rows of old instruments leaned against the walls, dusty trumpets, dented drums, and a half-open cello case. The air was thick, heavy, as though time itself had slowed. "All right," Alex muttered, setting his phone on a shelf and pulling out his trombone. "Let's just get this over with." The first few notes echoed strangely, too sharp, too loud for such a small space. The sound bounced off the walls and came back slightly delayed, like someone else was playing with him a fraction of a second behind. He paused, waited, silence. He tried again, a long note this time, and again the echo came back wrong. Not a reflection, but an answer. It was subtle at first, like the sound bending, but after a few minutes, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that the echo had rhythm, that it knew the song. He put down the instrument. "Hello." No answer. He chuckled nervously, guessed the walls like jazz. Still, something about it made him uneasy. He picked up his phone to check the time, 6:27, and realized he had no service down here. Great. That's when the light went out. A snap, and then total blackness. Alex froze. The silence was so complete it hurt. Then, somewhere in the darkness, came a faint rustle, fabric brushing against metal, maybe, and the soft sound of movement. "Hello." His voice cracked slightly. "Is someone down here?" Nothing. He turned his phone flashlight back on and swept the beam across the room. Empty. The chair, the cases, the shelf, everything exactly as before. Then the light passed over the doorway and caught a shape. For a split second, he thought it was just a shadow, but then it moved. A figure crouched low just outside the door, retreating out of sight. Alex's breath caught. His pulse thundered in his ears. He took a step back, gripping his phone tighter. "Who's there?" No response. He darted forward, flashlight aimed down the hallway. Nothing. The corridor stretched into darkness, the far end swallowed by shadow. His hand trembled as he reached for the light switch on the wall. It did nothing, and then, from the far end of the hall, a faint metallic sound. A clink, like a music stand being knocked over. Alex hesitated. Every instinct told him to leave, but his trombone was still in the room, and his backpack. So he edged forward, the light trembling in his hand, his shadow lurching over the walls. Halfway down the corridor, the sound came again, closer this time. A scraping. Breathing? Hey, he shouted. If someone's messing with me, it's not funny. He reached the turn at the end of the hall and stopped. The beam of his flashlight caught the reflection of something metallic on the floor, an old band medal, tarnished and cracked. Beside it, footprints in the dust. Bare footprints. And then, in the reflection on the wall, movement. A figure standing just behind him. Alex spun around. No one there. He bolted back to the storage room, grabbed his stuff in a panic, and ran for the stairs. The flashlight shook wildly, casting jagged shadows along the ceiling. Halfway up the steps, a voice whispered, right behind him, "Don't stop playing." Alex nearly tripped. He turned the flashlight over his shoulder. Again, nothing. The voice had been soft, almost calm, like someone standing close enough to speak directly into his ear. He didn't look back again. He burst through the stairwell door into the main hallway, panting hard. The security lights flickered overhead. That's when he saw the security guard. Mr. Jameson, an older man in a wrinkled uniform, turned the corner with a flashlight. "Hey, you all right, kid? What are you doing down there?" Alex tried to catch his breath. There's someone down there. In the basement. I saw them." Jameson frowned. No one's supposed to be down there this late. He keyed his radio. "Control, I've got a possible trespasser in the B-wing basement. Gonna check it out." Alex followed him back to the stairwell, hesitating at the top as the guard descended. His flashlight beam bobbed slowly through the dark. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, faintly, Jameson's voice, hello, who's there?" A pause, then a sound that made Alex's blood run cold. A single trombone note, low and drawn out, echoing from the depths. When Jameson came back up, his face was pale. "Nothing down there," he said quietly. "But the light's out. And, kid, I could swear I heard someone playing." Alex swallowed hard. "That was it. That's what I heard." The guard exhaled through his nose, shaking his head. "Probably some prankster. We'll lock it off for the night. You go home, yeah?" Alex nodded numbly. But as they turned away, he glanced down the stairwell one last time. And he saw it. At the bottom of the stairs, in the sliver of moonlight spilling through the tiny basement window, someone stood. A silhouette. Still. Watching. Then, slowly, it raised its hand and pointed upward. At him. The school was buzzing with rumors. Someone said the band basement was haunted. Someone else swore the janitor quit after seeing something on the cameras. Alex tried to ignore it. He'd skipped practice since that night, telling Mr. Palmer he'd make it up later. But on Friday, after school, the director stopped him in the hall. "You left your trombone in the basement," he said, holding out the case. "The janitor found it when they went to clean." Alex frowned. "No, I took it with me." Mr. Palmer shrugged. "Then whose is this?" There, scrawled across the case in black marker, was his name. Alex Tanner. And beneath it, a faint set of fingerprints smeared across the handle, like someone had gripped it with dirty hands. That night, Alex couldn't sleep. He kept hearing sounds, soft metallic notes, echoing faintly in the air vents. Every so often, he thought he could make out the same whispered words. "Don't stop playing." By morning, he convinced himself it was just stress, until his phone buzzed. An unknown number. One video file. He pressed play. The screen showed the basement, lit only by a dim yellow wall. The camera was shaky, like someone holding a phone at chest level. The audio crackled, faint, distant breathing. Then, from off-screen, came the sound of a trombone. Playing. The camera turned slowly toward the source of the sound. There, in the corner, stood Alex. But his eyes were closed, and his mouth wasn't moving. He dropped the phone. It hit the carpet with a dull thud. The video kept playing, now just a dim storage room, the shadowed figure still swaying to a rhythm no one else could hear. And then, just before it cut off, a voice whispered close to the mic, "Your turn." The following Monday, Westbrook High sealed off the basement wing after a series of power failures. The band program was temporarily suspended. Security footage from the night of the incident was reviewed, but the recordings were corrupted, the screen filled only with static and faint audio distortion that, when played backward, sounded almost like music. The only clear frame showed the storage room door, standing open, and inside, a faint outline, a person barely visible, sitting on a folding chair, holding a trombone, waiting. You've just taken another walk down the graveyard mile. If the shadows followed you this far, make sure they don't follow you home. Subscribe before the light goes out.